everyone. Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm talking about all things motherhood. If you're new around here, I have twin sons who are 4 years old. And obviously I was pregnant prior to that. So I've been a mum for about 5 years, and I feel like throughout those 5 years, I have learned so much, not only about myself, but about children, about being a mum in general. And yeah, so this episode is going to be about the lessons and things that I have learned along the way to hopefully help somebody else out there, or just if you guys can relate too. So, you know, you're not the only one out there going through certain stuff. Let's get straight into it. First lesson that I learned being a mum is that pregnancy is just the beginning. And in my personal opinion, the easiest part. Yep, I said it. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm saying that with a heavy heart. I don't even know if that makes sense, but I really am, because my pregnancy was hard. As you guys can imagine, carrying multiples was not a joke. Twins was a lot. I vomited from day one all the way until the day I gave birth. I literally did not stop vomiting. I actually got admitted into hospital. I had that thing, I'll write the name of it, hyper something something. So yeah, I found pregnancy so hard. It was probably one of the biggest shocks. I think that's probably what started my motherhood journey and made it so scary, was how much I struggled with pregnancy. But I'm not gonna lie, it definitely was the easiest if I think about it. The babies were inside. There was, you could just in a control freak. So I don't know, I felt like I could control more being pregnant. Whether that's true or not, it probably definitely isn't. Well, you definitely couldn't, because there was, I remember feeling so anxious, like, oh, I hope we make it to first trimester, then second trimester. I do remember that anxiousness, but I don't know, personally, everything just feels so much more heightened after you have the baby. Could also be because obviously you're pregnant for a short amount of time, then you actually look after the kids, could be that. Anyway, that's one of the things I've learned, especially when you're first becoming a mum. There is so much emphasis on you being pregnant and, oh, are you scared to deliver and all of that stuff. And I think that really is just the beginning of it, and it's the tip of the iceberg. This goes perfectly into my second lesson, and that is that postpartum / the fourth trimester is not spoken about enough. And I actually think it is a really difficult time for a mum. And if you are a mum that's actually in that stage, please don't be putting too much pressure on yourself, because I really feel like there's just so much going on, especially as a first time mum. First of all, you've never had children before. So then you've got children, or in my case, 2 children. And I guess in some other people's cases, 3, maybe 4 children in front of you. And even if you've had kids in your life, whether you've grown up with siblings or whatever, it's just a shock to the system when it's actually your children in front of you. Regardless of how you gave birth, you're also going to be going through some sort of recovery. And that's another thing that I learned. C-sections, for me anyway, are much harder than the put out there, okay? Because I literally thought, you know, you see, like, I don't know, growing up, I used to see too posh to push. So there's me thinking, I didn't want to have a C-section. It was kind of, the choice was taken away from me because one of the twins is breech. However, a little part of me was like, this is not ideal, but it seems it's always portrayed to be the easier way out, so I'll be fine. And yeah, the recovery of a C-section was a joke. Then there was this whole thing. I remember people used to say, someone told me about baby blues, and they were saying about how, like, there's just the point, I think it's like 3 or 4 days after you give birth, and then you might just feel like really upset, you might even cry. At that point, I wasn't really an emotional person. I thought, me, cry? No, don't think so. And yeah, I literally remember it. I was day 3 or 4 or something like that, and I just went into the bathroom and I burst into tears, and I don't know why. I just felt like I needed to release that. So yeah, long story short anyway, that whole postpartum after you've just given birth is really hard, and I think, like I said, it's not spoken about enough. So that's one thing I've learned. So not to scare anybody obviously out there who hasn't had children yet or who's pregnant, but I think just to make you aware of it, because I thought you pop the babies out, then you're kind of back to normal. That's kind of how it's portrayed. It's not really made to seem that that's, if I'm being honest, that's where the journey started for me. At that point, that's where everything kind of started to go downhill. And I think it's just because I wasn't aware of it. As much as, like I said, the first thing, pregnancy, just the beginning, as much as that was hard, I could deal with it because I've heard everything about morning sickness. I see that everywhere. So I kind of, although it was a shock how much I was being sick, I've heard of it before. So I thought, you know what? How do I deal with this? Just asking different people. Whereas in that case with postpartum, so many feelings and stuff that I was going through and no one had really told me about it. So much so for a hot second, I thought, is it just me that actually feels like this? So yeah, that's one thing why I really wanted to put out. That's a lesson that I learned because girl, it's not just you. We all go through that stage. Lesson number 3, you will change physically, mentally, and emotionally. And if you don't, I need you to do a video to let me know how not to, okay? So yeah, physically your body changes and that's a shock to the system. Again, maybe not so much of a big shock because like for me anyway, my body was changing throughout the 9 months. One thing that I was surprised about was how long my bump belly still stayed. I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect to still look pregnant after giving birth. But yeah, so anyway, you change physically. I never really was an anxious person. I became really anxious when I became a mum, and anxious for so many different things. Like, not, and I'm right now, obviously, I'm talking a lot about the beginning stages, but that's still something that I have now today. I'm really anxious, and I never used to be anxious before. Like, I could be walking with the twins, I could be holding their hands, we could be walking next to the road. They're on the inside, I'm on the outside, and I'm still like, oh my God, like I get these really, and you know what's crazy actually? I saw someone put on social media, I think it was last year or something about intrusive thoughts. Into that myself and actually do a video just on that. But I do get like these intrusive thoughts where I just get really scared of something bad happening to us. Or like I said, that's just these anxious thoughts and anxious feelings that I only get now. I never used to get them before. So yeah, emotionally you change a lot. I'm very emotional now as well. Like I said, I wasn't really emotional before. I'm very emotional now. And another thing is I'm very patient now too, as you can imagine. As a twin mom of boys needs to be patient and mentally, in so many different ways. What I wanted out of my life, how I saw life, how I felt from the beginning. I felt down and then I felt up, and yeah. So I just think it's just it changes you in so many different ways, in ways that once again I just don't feel like I spoke about enough. Change is good. So although you will change, that's not a bad thing. But once again, like I said, just be aware of it. I guess just take the right steps to kind of deal with the change. Lesson number 4. Every child is different. Now, this is something as a twin mum, I really had to get to know because obviously as twins, they're not, so my twins are fraternal twins, which means they are not identical. They had 2 separate sacs, 2 separate placentas. But still, they're my children. They both came out of me at the same time. So my initial plan is to just raise them the same way that I did, like do everything the same for them. And you know what, for the most part, for the beginning of their life, that worked because their needs were exactly the same at that point. Just, you know, the usual baby needs that they have. As they started to get older, they started to get different needs, whether that's health, whether that's stimulation. For example, one of my twins, he is allergic to quite a few things. He has eczema. He had silent reflux when he was in his first year. So there's a lot of stuff that he needed that my older twin didn't need. And then that was another thing, just because he didn't need that didn't mean that he doesn't have his own needs that I needed to deal with. Deal with, that makes it sound bad. Not deal with, but that I needed to help him with, I guess. I don't know what the right way to say is. But yeah, long story short, they're different. Even like foods, as they started to taste foods, there's different foods that they liked, especially now as well as 4-year-olds. There's different ways. Like one of them is more reserved when he's out in public, and one of them is more social and outgoing. And it means when we're in public spaces or in a social setting, I kind of need to adapt how I deal with things to make sure that they're both comfortable. Yeah, there's definitely something to think about, that all children are different. And even in a sense of like looking at other people's children, I definitely remember when the twins in a much earlier stage of like walking, and even actually with walking, one of them walked 10 months and one of them walked 14 months. And things like that, I used to think, oh, I hope nothing's wrong with him. Like, why is he taking so long to walk? Or, you know, you ask like your friends or like other fellow mum friends, like you do what works for you as a mum to make sure that your child's needs are met. Lesson number 5, you have to ask for help. Do not be superwoman. That's one I had to learn because I'm not gonna lie, I live a superwoman lifestyle. prior to motherhood, independent woman, all of that stuff. Like, I don't ask no one for nothing. And I know a lot of us don't like to ask for help, whether that's men, women, whoever it is. But guys, you need to ask for help. I think I can definitely relate to trying to be superwoman, trying to do everything by myself. Not even just because I want to, sometimes because number one, I don't want someone to come and ruin my flow. I know that I want it done. So rather than have someone come and do it wrong, I think you think in your mind, and I thought that in the past, yeah, it's easier if I just do it wrong. Another reason why you might not want to ask help is you think, oh, no one does anything for me. I do everything by myself. But also, especially if you live with a partner, they are not mind readers. Okay, one thing that you see, someone else might not see. So rather than make them guess what you need help with, just tell them, especially if you live with like a man or you got a husband or a boyfriend or whatever it is. I do feel like, and no offense to men out there, okay, like men do need a little bit of help. Like, what do you need help with and how they can help you with that? And that would solve a lot of problems in relationships. But I just feel like everybody is expecting everybody to know what they need help with or how they're feeling or what's in their mind. And I think that causes a big issue. A lot of the mums watching this are mums like me, that you still got goals, you still got ambitions, you're doing loads of things, you're not just a mum, there's so many things you juggle. So if you don't ask for help, you won't actually get those things done. And I think that's why it's important as mums to ask for help. And I'm not just talking about if you have a partner, single mums too, or single dads, whoever it is. You can also ask the people that are around you, ask family members, ask friends that you trust, make friends with other parents that you trust. You know the saying, it takes a village. So things like that really just kind of help to, make you not feel so overwhelmed. It's important that you ask for help and don't be scared to ask for help. The sixth lesson that I've learned while being a mum is that every stage is temporary. And because of that, be present. Let me explain that a bit more. So in the early stages, I remember dealing with teething. Like I said, one of my twins had silent reflux, weaning. I remember thinking that these things were so overwhelming. The lack of sleep, oh my God. I swear to you guys, I did not sleep for 2 years. That is not a joke. Now, obviously I had sleep, but I had interrupted sleep for 2 years straight. It was very rare that I didn't have, even if I didn't have the twins with me, I would still wake up because my body was just so used to waking up. So there's just things that I remember going through thinking, this is a lot. Like, when will this change? I remember stressing out about it, like, oh my God, like, what do I need to do to make them, when they go through like a sleep regression and they're not sleeping or something like that, or even to take it to closer to now as they're like 4, they're starting school in September, and I'm like, oh my God, they're starting school and they're going to make friends and I'm not going to be there every second. And I'm just like, there's so many things going through my head and I'm just worrying, the anxious Scylla. I'm just worrying rather than actually taking stuff in. So this is why I say be present, because now I do make a conscious effort, whereas back before I didn't. That first year of motherhood, I'll be lying if I said I remembered it. I really don't. It was just such a blur. I just was overwhelmed every second. Of course, I lost myself as well. So I didn't really feel like me. There was just, everything just felt overwhelming in the stage, and then you'd get over something and then it's the new thing. So you get over teething and then it's something else. So then it's potty training, then it's this, then it's that. And you just don't actually stop and be like, whoa, hold on, I just potty trained you. You're actually comfortably using the toilet now, great. Or I just weaned you and you're actually comfortably eating foods now, great. You're just like, oh my God, okay, this is done. Okay, now this, okay, now this. And I think that's just like, not only is that not good because you're not present, but that's also not giving yourself the pat on the back that you deserve. And that doesn't help with your morale or your mental and how you feel. You need to stop sometimes and be like, you know what, I'm doing a good job. I actually just got over that. Like that day, I don't even know what date it was or what day it is, but that day when the boys slept from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and I also slept through the night, I wish I could go back and actually, so I could cherish that moment, so I could tell you guys, yeah, it was on this day and that night I slept all night and I felt great when I woke up. Because thinking back about it, I felt so happy that day. That morning when I woke up, I'm like going into their room, I think I probably even got up before them. I remember it was just like, oh, wow, I felt so grateful just for sleep. Sleep is so important, but I guess as a mum, especially in the first years, it kind of gets taken away from you. Celebrating some wins when you go through them and be present. How many of us have looked back at that newborn photo and then you look at the 4-year-old in front of you and you're like, where the hell did the time go? Like, I can't believe like my twins are starting primary school. I'm just like, I remember even finding out I was pregnant yesterday. So yeah, just really cherish those moments, guys, and be present. Lesson number 7, listen to your children. Now, this probably sounds like a self-explanatory one, but I'm not going to lie, it's not something that I did all the time. Maybe it's the way I've been brought up. Not that I don't listen to my children. Of course, if I'm talking to them, I'm listening to them. But I mean really listening to them and really taking in what they say, not only to help nurture what they like and to help support them and be their biggest cheerleader. But I'm not going to lie, I feel like kids are actually the biggest teachers. I learned so much when talking to the twins. And I think that's because, you know, their minds are so like fresh and I guess naive, and they just don't, they haven't really been clouded by the badness of the world just yet. So sometimes I'll say something, I can't even think of an example, but sometimes I'll say something and I feel like the twins just make it seem, yeah, but mummy, why can't you do that? And I'm a bit like, you know what, you're right. I can do that. But because I'm probably thinking about all the different things that's like stopping me from doing something, I've forgotten of just the simplicity of life, basically. And the fact that, you know, if you're not happy to do something, then don't do it. Little things like that. And I feel like kids just, like I said, because their minds are so fresh, they just feel free to say those things. And it's just nice to actually be reminded by that. So guys, honestly, listen to your kids. Another thing, right, that kids do really well, and the twins do this a lot, manifestation. They'll be like, mummy, I want a bigger house and I want a games room and I want this and I want that. And I'm like, I'm not like, when we used to first hear them say it, me and my husband used to be like, oh my God, we don't need this pressure. Like, we feel this pressure enough between ourselves. We don't need you guys now starting to say stuff like that. But I'm not going to lie, that's actually what we need. Let them manifest certain things for you. Let them say, and remember, I actually learnt this from Candice Brathwaite. She's definitely a mum to check out, guys. And I remember she was like, yeah, kids are like manifesting machines. Like, listen to them because the things that they say, and it's so true. Like I said, the things that the twins come out with, sometimes I'm like, whoa, I didn't think that yet, but okay, yeah, let's do it. I remember even literally Easter half term, they called it Easter holiday. And they're like, oh, so where are we going on holiday? And we're like, you're not going on holiday. They're like, yeah, but it's Easter holiday. I'm like, well, let's call it Easter half term. Not everybody has to go on holiday. I'm thinking, it's true, not everybody has to go on holiday, but I would love if we were one of those families that did go on holiday on every half term. So if they're putting it out there, let's try to make it happen. I'm a strong believer of putting stuff into the universe. When you put it into the universe, then you can take the steps for it to happen. And yeah, so I just think kids, like, listen to them, just have a conversation with them. And like I said, obviously, I just spoke about the way it helps us as parents, but just for them and as themselves, like, what are they saying? What's a little thing that they're saying they're enjoying? Like, for example, I don't know, your child might like Lego, and you're the adult, so you might think, oh, that might mean they might like engineering. I don't know if that makes sense. They might like putting things together. They might want to be an architect. Obviously, not forcing anything on them. I'm also a strong believer of not forcing your dreams and your aspirations onto your children. I think it's important they go their step that they want to. But I think listening to them is the perfect way to make sure that they do that. Lesson number 8. I've kind of spoke about this a bit before, but I just wanted to speak specifically about change within yourself. Your goals might change, your likes and interests might change, your purpose might change, all of that stuff as you guys, well, I say as you guys know, like you guys know, but it's because on my Instagram, I feel like I used to talk about that stuff a lot, about the change I went through after becoming a mum. I definitely was one of those mums that, yeah, once I had the twins, I'm going back into my job. I worked in marketing in the fintech industry. I had a goal of working my way up within that industry. But after I had the twins, probably even kind of halfway being pregnant as well, that goal changed for me. And for ages, I still held on to it. I remember I got made redundant 8 months after the twins were born. And probably for the first 6 months after that, I still was looking for jobs within that industry, even though deep down in me, I didn't want to do that no more. But I was just holding on to what I used to be and what I used to like, rather than accepting that it's okay. I've changed. My purpose has changed. My goal has changed. Even little things like interest. What used to interest me didn't necessarily interest me anymore. Like even a little thing like the TV shows I used to watch. I didn't enjoy all of the ones I used to watch, and I started enjoying some ones that I never watched. So, but I know it sounds so silly, but I just feel like a change like that does happen. And if anybody is going through that, just to let you know, that is normal and it's okay. Embrace it. If it's something that you're enjoying, it's something that's making you happy, enjoy it. If you need to make a goal change, even if you could be 45, you'd have had your first baby, and you've been a lawyer all that time, and you've had your baby and you feel like you want to be a teacher now because you love kids so much, or I don't know. But if that was your story, it's okay to change. Lesson number 9, have a plan, but be flexible. Now, I think as a mum, having a plan has been one of the biggest things that have helped me. I love a plan. I love plans a bit too much, but one thing I had to let go of is my plans can't be rigid. It can't just be one way. That is from pregnancy all the way throughout to motherhood, maybe even grandmotherhood. Who knows, when you get there, you might feel like that too. But for example, pregnancy, like I said, I remember thinking, I'm going to have natural birth. That's what I want. I want a water birth, plain Janae Aiko. All of this stuff was in my mind. But then that got taken away from me. And if I'm being really honest, I was pretty okay with it. I wasn't so set on the plan. I guess having twins, I kind of knew. I just knew it was going to be quite hard. So whatever was going to be the best for the twins, I was always going to go for that. But I definitely spoke to mums that stuck on a birth and then they haven't been able to stick to that plan. And I think if we have in our minds that it's okay to be flexible from the beginning, then although it's not ideal, not sticking to a plan, it just might be easier for you to actually be able to deal with it. And that goes all the way down, like I said, from pregnancy all the way down to now. Well, me having 4-year-olds, for example, sometimes I have this plan in my head of, how I want the day to go, for example. And one of the twins might just vomit everywhere. And that might mean they can't go to nursery that day. And that plan that I had to have part of the day to myself then gets taken away from me. And that's still definitely something that now, ever so often that will happen, I think, oh, for goodness sake. Like, it takes me ages to actually refresh and think, you know what, it's okay. Like, just do it another day, or, do it in the evening when I go to bed. Like, just find a way around your plan. Another thing I've heard mums say, and I said it as well, when my baby gets to 4 months or whatever, how many months, I'm going straight back into work. Like, I need to get back onto my career. I've got all of this stuff. And then you get there and you're like, I'm not ready yet. I don't feel ready. I feel like this, I still either want to stay at home with my baby. I just don't feel like myself yet. I know obviously not everybody has the luxury to do that, but long story short, if your plan was to go back at a certain time and you don't feel ready and you do have the opportunity to have more time, take it. If plans change, who knows? Most of the time when things change, it actually works out for the better. And to be fair, that's probably just perspective, and perspective helps, guys. Bonus lesson that I've learnt since becoming a mum. Drum roll, guys, wait for it. Take time out for yourselves. Yourselves counts as one word, right? But 5 words, not enough people doing it, okay? And I will talk about taking time out for yourself till I'm blue in the face. I will say it in every video. Every video I make, I reckon I'll probably mention some sort of level of taking time out for yourself in all aspects of your life, not just being a mum. But I think today, obviously, because we're talking about being mums and the lessons that I've learned, it's just so important. I feel like women do this thing that is selfish. It's selfish not to take time out for yourself. Hear me out. But when you don't take time out for yourself, you're not being the best version of you that you can be. And therefore, you're not giving the best version of yourself to your children and your family. So look at it as a selfless act when you take time out for yourself. Think about it in a way that if you're feeling happier and you're feeling lighter, then that's going to radiate to your children, and that's going to radiate to your family and the people around you. As I always say, I'll make a video just on taking time out for yourself, because that's one that I just think is so important. It gets overlooked so much. So yeah, guys, please take time out for yourselves. Those are the things and lessons that I've learned since becoming a mum. Let me know in the comments if there's any that I've missed out that you wanted to add to this, if there's any that I've mentioned that you can relate to. I hope someone finds this helpful, even if it's just one of you. And if you did, please do let me know, because that's what I'm doing this for, okay? I'm doing this so that not only can I help myself, but even if I just help one of you guys out there, that'll make me feel like my purpose has been ticked off. Yeah, so like, comment and subscribe. Feel free to share with a fellow mum friend, and I'll see you guys in the next video.